know what's always good for shoulder pain?
What?
If you lick my butthole.
Welcome to the show. As Brian grins. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, Derek, you know what's good? Good, you can lick my butthole.
What, Derek?
Hey, not bad, man. You know, I got a quick thing. You know how I drink a lot of energy drinks. I got this new energy drink, and it's from Kim Kardashian. I didn't realize that when I bought it.
Yes.
It was just as cheap as Kim was at two for $1, and I bought like 6 of these things because I figured what a great deal. And they're not bad, but now I feel like getting plastic surgery, and I think I like black guys.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have a side effect of your booty getting bigger.
Yeah, my butt is definitely getting bigger, and I can't help but look at my muscular black neighbor across the way. And I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm going to stop drinking them. I don't think it's good for me.
Probably a good idea, unless you're enjoying it, and then just keep on doing what you're doing.
Oh, my God. Crowder got his channel suspended again. I just saw that in chat. Woo!
Who did?
Steven Crowder, apparently.
Oh, well, yeah. He's just not
15th month old video. Man, YouTube is on a tear right now, isn't it?
Oh, it's something else. If you're a creator on YouTube, clench your ass cheeks and just pray. That's all I can say right now.
Yeah, it's
the guy who took over is an underhanded, seedy individual who likes to do things in the shadows, and they don't care anything about the people who make videos for them and that make Google all of their money, like us.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, toy fanboy. You've always liked black guys, Bri. That's correct.
It's true. It's very true. Actually.
Most men, actually. So, anyways, how you doing, bro? What's been going on?
Oh, nothing. I'm excited about the show today. We have some really, really awesome things to talk about. Some very interesting things to talk about. I was concerned that as the writer strike continues now 4 months, that this would just continue to be like this thing that drug out, or we would have nothing to talk about each week. But it seems to be not the case. We have incredible stuff to talk about.
Yeah, all kinds of great stuff.
Including some really interesting things like, Hollywood just is continuing to make us hate things we love. If you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about, a little bit about Harry Potter and the wizarding world. But that's just like the tip of the iceberg of things that Hollywood is making us hate. And we're going to talk about why it is that they're doing this to us. They're shoving things down our throat and why we hate it and how it can be fixed. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about something very interesting. An article just came out where we're learning some things about Disney that does not surprise us why things are happening so poorly for Disney right now. And surprise, surprise, it's all Bob Iger's fault. And frankly speaking, the article that came out is incredibly enlightening, and it paints an entirely different picture of Bob Iger than we ever thought really about him, because he is, a historically important person when you talk about the Marvel and Fox and a bunch of signings he did. But the reasons he did what he did and why he made the choices, including why Bob Chapek became the CEO and why certain people are where they're at, is all Bob weaving a narrative and a web for himself. We're going to dig into that a little bit deeper. We got onto a little bit of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia kick last couple of days, thanks to Brian. And we're going to talk about how...
It's what I do.
It's what you do. And we're going to talk about how if It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if it's the if it's the live action version of South Park. And I would argue that perhaps some of their episodes are. We've got some other great things to talk about today, including how disgusting John Travolta's home is, which seems like a weird thing. So, but it's all coming today. If you notice, I'm wearing my Dolphins jersey because today is the first day of the NFL. National Football League tonight, the Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions, the very first game of the season, and I'm a huge football fan. If you guys want, we have, and Brian, by the way, you're playing our AI in our fantasy football league this week. So Shane,
football?
Yes, football.
What is football?
If you don't want to,
hey, wait. But so I win versus the AI if I get the most baskets, right?
All right, let me just tell you something. And I don't want to be disrespectful to your gamer nerdy brain, but here's the deal. Football is like the perfect activity for a man. Okay.
Sure.
It's physical, right? It has physical prowess and it has the intelligence of a chess player.
I played football in high school, Shane. I know what football is. I just don't like watching it. Is that a problem?
Wait, they allowed you to play football in high school?
They did, and they even allowed me to lift weights.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't locked in a basement. That was the only thing I was allowed to do, which was probably why I enjoyed it so much. Shane and I didn't live together when we were kids, and I was in a very restrictive household where we weren't even allowed to watch TV.
You're in a cult, bro. Run. You're in a cult.
Get out. Get out.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't.
Yeah, I started doing really well in school after a stint in the clink. That is continuation school.
The clink.
I got kicked out in middle school, went to continuation school, and it was funny because I got kicked out of middle school because of just being an all-around dickhead. I got in fights. I didn't want to go to school. I just wasn't a good kid. And then when I got to continuation school and I saw all the real bad kids, like the ones like carrying around like
with tattoos on their faces,
hidden knives, like they have tattoos on their face. I remember standing there waiting for a class and seeing like 3 pregnant 15-year-olds walk by. I'm like, what the fuck?
With knives in their hands.
They had the painting on eyebrows. They're like, what you looking at, white boy? I'm like, yo, I'm in the wrong place. I realized right away that I was on the wrong path because I was put into this like basically a prison high school. That's what a continuation school is.
Yes.
And so I kicked it up to overdrive, and I was like, all right, I'm done playing around. And I unleashed the full potential of my brain, and I pretty much finished high school in like 2 years.
Just to get out of there as fast as possible.
And the principal of that school was like, yeah, so first off, we never really had this problem before, but you can graduate early. And I'm like, you've never had this problem before? He goes, no, we're just lucky if no one hurts anyone.
We're trying to keep everyone safe.
And so he said you can go back to regular high school so that, your books show that you've graduated from regular high school, or you can just graduate early. It's up to you. If you went back to regular high school, you would just do electives for a while. And so I chose to go back to regular high school. And in hindsight, maybe I should have just graduated early. But I went back to regular high school, and I did like electives for a long time. I did like weightlifting class and football. I did like 4 different music things. I played classical drums, jazz drums. I was on the marching band just because the flag twirlers were right in front of me. And I'm like, all right. And I was like my entire last year and a half of school was just doing nothing but electives. I took a film class just for fun. I thought we were gonna watch movies all day. When I realized there was homework, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. No."
Well, that's fun. Yeah. But today is the first day of football, and we are doing a fantasy football draft. If you guys weren't able to get into it, that's fine. Go over to our Discord, and you can get our Discord link below. We have a channel just for our fantasy football stuff. There'll be a lot of trash talking. It's a lot of fun. Let's talk about this Popcast Unleashed Hero of the Week. First thing I want to tell you guys is everybody who was waiting for their prizes to be sent to them, they have now been sent. So thank you for everybody who participated each week in the Popcast Stream Hero. Your prizes are on the way. Woo!
Yeah, sorry, I was a little late on some stuff. You know me.
Me too. No, there were some things, and there were some hangups. There were, unfortunately, those Indiana Jones diaries, they came, I guess, from like China. Surprise, surprise. So they took a while to get here. But
I still never got one.
Yeah, you didn't win one, as I recall.
I'm really uncool. It's really uncool.
No, you gotta, I don't know, maybe don't be on the stream one day, and I don't know, like come in as like, what's your McGiblet's name?
Oh
Wesley
yeah,
Crusher
yeah, Mr. McGiblet's Wesley
Yeah.
Crushers.
Yeah, and just play.
Mr. McGiblets. What the hell, McGiblets? Come on, Miss McGiblets.
If you want to win the Stream Hero of the Week, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, we've got this bar of energy, power, mana, life, whatever you want to call it. As you donate,
It's a
via the
health
stream-
bar, dude. Come on. You put a sports jersey on, all of a sudden you don't understand video games? Get out of here.
Listen, I didn't say that. I was giving all of the different options,
Okay,
depending
all right,
on which
fine.
game you played. In
Fine.
fact, I felt like my explanation was actually more
Fucking
intelligent
joke.
than just saying a life bar. Hey, it's a life bar.
It's a health
basically.
bar.
Health
Specifically
bar.
a health bar. When you
Why didn't you put
donate to
little
the
hearts up
channel,
there?
when you donate to the channel in order to keep us alive and electricity on, it knocks the health off that new
Right.
person until you
Yeah.
take over the channel.
So why didn't you just put hearts up there? Like that would have made much more
Because
sense
it's not Zelda, dude.
than like what we have, like the RPM meter of a car.
No, it's like a health meter, dude. It starts green, goes red. What?
Anyways, my point is, I'm just
Shane's
you're
acting
harassing
like
me,
he
I'm
hasn't
harassing
played
you.
thousands of hours of EverQuest over here.
That's not the health bar. It's like, never mind. Anyways, the point is, if you would like to be the winner of today's Stream Hero, which will include a mystery prize, I think we're doing the grab bag mystery prize right now, where you get mystery apparel. You won't even know what it is. We'll send it to you. All we need is your size, and you'll get it. Just go ahead and the Streamlabs link is up there in the top of the chat. You can click on that and submit questions and super chats there.
It's top
Since
right
we're
of the screen,
monetized.
too.
Yeah, wherever it is on your screen. Absolutely.
It's top right. It's also pinned to the chat, and it's somewhere in the description. You'll find it.
Yeah. So, and then, if you want to participate, it's going to be a fun topic today. So, shall we get started, Mr. Ryan?
Yes, we shall, sir. And I do have that clip that you wanted from Always Sunny.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I mean, we're going to go down and talk about all these things. We have some interesting, like, personal topics that we're going to talk about today as well. It's been a really weird week. Since some strange things happened that tie into like this Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, and like a weird thing that happened at my kid's school with like school shootings, but we'll talk about that later because it's and also in the members chat. So if you make sure you stick around, because we're gonna have some fun stuff.
We can't talk about school shootings on the public side, or else
it wasn't an actual school shooting,
right?
but
I mean, just saying the word is like all of a sudden there's like 4 employees at YouTube. Like,
is this why we get like demonetized?
This is why, dude. We can't. We're like so nice and vanilla and chill. We don't give anyone a hard time. You know,
we say the wrong words.
We're very respectful, but somehow, I guess if you say HITLE too many times, they just like flag your channel.
Yeah. We're also going to be talking today about that's a good point. We're also going to be talking about today whether or not TNG's Code of Honor episode should be pulled from streaming, as it's being called for by cast members, including Jonathan Frakes. So, and that's a whole interesting discussion as well. We just have a lot to talk about today, so don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere. All right. Well, on that note, ready?
So, until we are dick up and flat broke, this is your life.
Okay, go ahead.
A TV show has not captured me like Silicon Valley. That show just like really, I was obsessed with it. I binge watched the entire thing. I rarely do that with the show.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and accurate for the time, right?
Right. Yeah. Much so. Okay, what's up first?
All right, so we're talking about Harry Potter. We're going to talk about exactly why all of these. It was recently put out that Harry Potter was going to be getting a new series on HBO Max. They're going to go back and actually reboot the entire series, and they're going to, over 10 seasons, they're going to tell all of the book stories over again. So that's what we're getting ready to do.
Who asked for that?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Right. It's crazy. Yeah, when I was researching this, apparently also, and I guess this is not an issue, but I find it just sort of a weird thing to do. Mm-hmm. They're gonna race swap Hermione. She's gonna be African American, or I guess not African American because they're not American, so she's gonna be black. And at first I was like, I wonder why they would do that. Like, is it just to like check a box? Apparently, J.K. Rowling meant for the character to be black. And that's what she said. And I know that when this gets announced and they cast or whatever, people are gonna lose their minds. But I'm gonna preface this real quick and be like, you probably shouldn't on this one, because it's not an established character like Little Mermaid is, or Snow White, considering who it's literally her name. Like this, the actual creator meant for it to be that way, and the studio made the character, one race outside of her control in the first time. If that's true.
I mean, here's the thing: is like it's a book. So let's go to the book. Is there a description of the character in the book? I mean, that tells you what the character is supposed to be.
That's a great question.
So, and I don't think Harry Potter went deep into skin color, which is very unlikely. Not like a Stephen King character who described like Roland Deschain as, basically Clint Eastwood, right? Or actually himself. It was supposed to be a version of himself. He's obviously a white character. Hermione, is Hermione? Is that it? Hermione?
Yeah, it's Hermione Granger.
Hermione Granger. I don't believe that, she described their pearly, whitish, talc skin color in the Harry Potter books. Now, I will say I didn't read them because I was a grown ass adult and I wasn't going to read those.
Actually, they did describe her.
Did they? Did they describe her as?
Yeah. So the exact description was Hermione had light skin, brown eyes, large front teeth, and lots of bushy brown hair.
Well, sorry. That means she's sounds like light. I mean, light is not white.
Now, they also said Hermione looked tan when she came back from holiday.
Oh.
Her hair was long and tied back. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't care. But
who cares? But yeah.
J.K. Rowling seems to be fibbing a little bit on this one.
Well, here's the thing: is J.K. Rowling? She's already got herself in a whole storm of trouble.
Oh, there's a picture. There's also a picture of Hermione Granger. Oh man,
is there really?
Yeah. Here, let me show you.
Let's see it. Is this the book picture?
Yeah. So
no. Well,
okay. So she's not actually African American in the book.
She could be light-skinned African American or African.
Like,
it's not American.
Like extremely light skin, like never seen the sun in her life. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she has blonde hair there. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't really care if the author says that's what she meant. Then that, maybe that's what she meant.
Well, who are we to go against what the author says is the right thing?
Right.
Honestly.
But according to the books, that the description definitely doesn't fit that. So,
well, and the real question is the actress going to pull off the role? Like our original Hermione turned out to be a really talented little young actress who grew up into be a decent actress. So whoever ends up taking the role, but the problem isn't who takes the role. The problem isn't the cast. The problem is should they even do it?
Emma Watson. And I remember at one point seeing a picture of Emma Watson. I'm like, oh, she's really cute. And I feel like a perv right now because isn't that Hermione Granger? And then someone was like, no, dude, it's cool. She's like 25. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. I'm not going to hell.
Well, I mean, she was a cute kid and, grew up to be she was in that movie. What was that movie where the end of the world was coming?
Oh, yeah. This is the end.
This is the end. And she was a little naughty in that one.
Yeah, no, she was she played herself and she shot someone. She was like, she was great. And she thought they were going to take advantage of her. Right. Because she was the only chick there. What? And they're like, no, what are we talking about? No, of course we're not going to do that. And someone's like, are you sure we're not going to? And the guy's like, no, we're not going to blank Emma Watson. And they're like, I know that, but does she know that? What are you talking about? You're making her uncomfortable. And she goes, I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying, does she know we're not going to do it? That movie is something special.
Yeah, it is funny. And would they make that movie now? I don't know. But
no, they could not make that movie now.
I don't think so.
Bro, what was his name? Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. The guy from Magic Mike XL.
You mean Channing Tatum?
Yeah, Channing Tatum. I was never a fan of that dude until I saw him in a gimp suit, and he was playing himself. And he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, bro?" You're like, if you can make fun of yourself like that, I gotta give you some props, even if you're not a great actor.
Yeah. So unlike a movie like that, which is actually incredibly unique and individualistic and a great idea by its creators, Seth Rogen and those guys. The problem is that movies like taking Harry Potter and saying, okay, you got to take a look at the franchise and you got to look, okay, Harry Potter came out and it was a phenomenon when it came out. It came out in 2001 with the Sorcerer's Stone. And it had an 11-year, basically a 10 to 11-year run, going all the way through the Deathly Hallows parts 1 and 2 in 2010 and 11. And, these kids grew up on the set. You've got Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry Potter. And they grew up as these characters. And then we ended up with Fantastic Beasts, 2016, 18, and 22, which continued in that universe. And granted, it wasn't Harry Potter. And of course, Universal Studios has the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at both of their parks. And, goodness knows what Lego has done with Harry Potter. The question is anybody ready to reboot it after a little over a decade? And this is the problem with Hollywood. They get their hands on these franchises and they just want to continue to, rinse them and repeat them and rinse them and repeat them. And it's something new that's happened in the last, 10, 15 years that they've just kind of continued to take these IPs and give us so much content that we become numb, basically, to watching it. It becomes not exciting. The absence makes the heart grow fonder idea just isn't existing like we had with Star Wars. When a Star Wars movie would come out in the original trilogy, there were several years in between each movie. There was an anticipation and an excitement. Brian, do you think anybody's excited about rebooting Harry Potter?
No, and I gotta be honest, I don't think the studio actually thinks that people are excited. I'm sure there's some people, they think some people are. I don't think this is researching this topic when we were talking about it yesterday. I don't think that the studio is like, we need to do a series of TV shows to reboot it instead of a movie. I think they were using it as leverage, because Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe didn't want to go back to Harry Potter. I mean, they are like in their 40s now. I'm not 40s, I'm joking, but they're older. And I believe that Max had created the series and greenlit the series as a way to not force, I guess, encourage Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and the little ginger kid, whatever his name was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To come back for a 9th movie and or final trilogy, and that would be that would have been an adaptation of the last couple of books that J.K. Rowling wrote, and a lot of the people felt the same way, because shortly after they greenlit the TV show, the rebooted series, we did get some reports of Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and the ginger kid maybe returning when before Daniel Radcliffe was like, I'm done with that character. So I believe that there's some kung fu going on here a little bit in the back end, and I don't know if it's 100% that they are doing it for the same reason as, they're just doing it to create the TV show or to reboot the series. I believe part of it was also to get Daniel Radcliffe and them back to the table.
Well, I don't understand why you would bother. I mean, you can only I guess if you want to continue making shows that don't follow the writings of J.K. Rowling, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense since there's not more novels of Harry Potter to make movies out of.
There's one more. There's one more novel they haven't touched yet.
But, do we need late 30s, 30-something characters for that book? Absolutely not, right? That's not the way she wrote them.
I mean, I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so, but
rebooting is the only option you have.
Yeah, but we live in a time where there are 11 Fast and Furious movies, dude. Like,
which is also part of the problem.
right? Of course it is.
So
But
it's part of this whole problem that we have. Warner Brothers stated, and as much as we like Zaslav to some degree, he's the one saying, "Look, it's been a decade."
Right.
It was so funny. He said it's been a decade. It's been too long since we visited what Harry Potter's up to. It's time to do more Harry Potter. But David, is it like? Do we need Harry Potter after 10 years? I mean, I would argue that if you're going to reboot something, you have to get the original out of your head a little bit before you can start over. You know what I mean?
right.
What's the problem with trying to go with new content? I mean, Warner Brothers is, they're stuck in this. It's Lord of the Rings, it's Harry Potter, and it's DC. That's all they got. How about some new content, some new interesting,
I mean, they're making Dune.
That's true. That's good. That had never really, it had been done in the 80s. It's still a reboot. It's still a redo, but
Right.
technically in our time and frame, it's a good thing. That's a movie that needed to be done. Its time had come. So that's fine. But I mean, how about just new properties? How about creatively new energy? The problem is that all of these studios, they just want to go back and double down on everything that's already been done.
Well, they want to take advantage of old franchises. That's what's going on.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And by doing that, because there is a limited number of resources of talent, let's go back and take a look. Major studios released 792 films in 2019. 792 films. Okay. In 2022, 600 scripted television series were released.
Oh my
Now,
God.
that's almost 1,400 projects. How many creatives do you think there are out there with the talent to be able to create this much product? You see what I'm saying? The talent pool is limited.
Right.
So you're going to have a large number of projects that are just no good. And if you start attaching them to these IPs that we're just rinsing and reusing with no new ideas, it comes to a point where people are like, I'm just tired of it. Right?
Yeah, well, you can add to that too, though. So Jeff Snyder is some executive at Max.
Mm-hmm.
He was picked up on I don't know exactly what he is at Max, but he was on a podcast called the Hot Mic Podcast, and I listened to a snippet of it. Basically, he was saying that Max is making a concerted effort to cast more people of color in the upcoming Harry Potter series. More specifically, Snyder noted the role of Hermione, as well as even Potter himself, was considered, and I'm trying to paraphrase, and people of color were put at the top of the list when it comes to casting an actor of color. I'm sorry, I don't want to read the entire thing. Basically, he's like, this is another part of the problem. So they take an old franchise, and they want the built-in audience, and they want the built-in lore, and the fact that they can do less work in order to tell the same story, and they want that easy money. But then they also want to go, all right, so we have the built-in audience, we have the built-in fans. Now let's take what they're expecting and give them something different. I'm not saying that race swapping in some cases is not a good idea. You could do that if it's your franchise. But when you go, we have a show that we know a lot of people love, or we have a movie we know a lot of people love. We're going to take that movie, that book, that TV show, and we're going to completely flip it, and we're going to inject a bunch of weird politics and stuff into it, because the people that like it are going to watch it regardless. Now, that may have worked 10 years ago when people weren't wise to your to what you were doing. But now, the second you're like, we're making a concerted effort to cast more people of color, and this person's going to be gay, and this person's going to be trans, and whatever, people are like, oh, so never mind. I don't want
Right.
to taint my view of this thing that I love so much. Again,
Well,
not that it's bad that a black person would be in Harry Potter, but swapping out, say, Harry Potter for another race or gender, for girl power or whatever box you're trying to check, the built-in fans are going to be like, yo, what?
Yeah. So as we're going to learn here soon, when we start talking about Bob Iger and Disney, we're going to learn that the motivation behind all of these changes, like saying you're going to add more, racially ethnic characters or gender diverse characters, is the reason why people are doing that is for self-preservation. So what we're going to learn is that these people who are in charge of studios, they don't want to lose their jobs.
Right.
And the only people pushing back right now are people who are fighting against gender equality, racial issues. And guess what? Those fans, those longtime fans who aren't fighting about anything, they don't care about them. So they aren't going to pander to them because they just don't want to lose their jobs. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm joking? It is as narcissistic as the fact that people in charge of these studios don't mind if the studio goes down in flames because they all have golden parachutes. And their whole goal, as we're going to see with this Bob Iger story, is hold on for as long as you can and go in whatever direction will keep you there the longest. I'm telling you, I believe that's what's happening. And that's
I've heard that argument though, Shane. I've heard that argument before. Only the small percentage of loudmouths are the one pushing back, so people want to please them, and not the fans. But I'm on YouTube every day. I see millions of comments and videos with millions of views and millions of likes for people that are criticizing some of these insane changes. There's got to be people. There's a lot of people out there pushing back against it. I just don't think they care about us. Who's going to be the one that will get you fired for your job? That's what you got to worry. Right. Plus, who's going to boycott you? If you label the fans that are complaining as incels and racist, et cetera, right, then you also minimize their the validity of their complaints. Exactly, absolutely. Right, which is what they've been doing. I mean, they're playing 3D chess here, boys. We're not. Well, and these white executives, these old white men in charge of all of these studios, they're terrified. Don't think for a second that they aren't freaking terrified, because they are. And these are the actions of terrified men. Whiteies. Crumbling at the oh my God, I want to continue being a rich billionaire, so I got to do whatever it takes. That's what all this is about. So thank you, all you cowardly rich billionaires who will soon be dead. Thank you for shoving this shit down our throat instead of just saying, you know what, it may cost me something, but I'm going to do the right thing. Yeah, I'm going to make the right thing for people who love it. And I got to tell you, David Zaslav, I'm like, and hey, David, all right, I'm glad that the decisions you're making. Now, are you also now going to start going down the road of I need to get in line so I can stay the CEO for as long as possible? Well, to be fair, the Harry Potter thing was greenlit prior to David Zaslav coming on. It's not like a super new development. It's just becoming more popular. It was talked about, but now it's been official, or it's officially being right. And pushed. We don't know 100% what changes they're actually going to make. But David Zaslav, and listen, anytime I hear some insane blue-haired feminist ally like Hassan saying David Zaslav is the actual devil, I'm like, oh, so I would like him then. Because if you hate him, if you despise this man and his decisions, and I despise you as a human being, I'm assuming he's probably going to be making some decent decisions. Well, and yeah, that's part of our problem, though, is that we have this outlook that whatever the other side that we don't agree with, likes, then we like. Specifically him, but yeah. Yeah, but, we should definitely judge people. Well, I mean, he's mad because he axed Batwoman and blah, blah, blah. All these things. Look, David Zaslav killed a lot of projects that him and I'm sure his advisors were like, these aren't going to make a penny, dude. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Anyways. Well, I mean, that's part of it, Can we wrap up this Harry Potter thing real quick? For anyone. No, I'm not ready to wrap it up, but go ahead. Well, let me just put a button on it. Okay, no, you go ahead, continue.
Well, there's more things. It's not really about Harry Potter. That's the whole point.
I mean,
This
because
thing is
people
not.
are going to say that this is not happening, but this is directly from J.K. Rowling, and this is on Twitter, and she wrote, "Max's commitment to preserving the integrity of books is important to me, and I'm looking forward to being part of a new adaptation which will allow for a degree of depth and detail only afforded by a long-form TV show." So it is something that's happening, or at least from the creator's perspective, it's happening. So
It's true. I mean, but it happens with everything. I mean, look at Jurassic World. Look at Fast and Furious. Look at Halloween. Everything is getting another movie. Everything's getting another reboot. At what point do we say to ourselves, it's just no longer any fun to watch any of this stuff? You know, movies like Top Gun Maverick, like that is something like, oh my God, there's a continuation of a movie that even though that is still not necessarily creative,
right,
it's at least something that was really old. Dune, another thing, like we talked about earlier. Those types of things people might still get excited for. What is it? We don't want these franchises to disappear forever. No, we still want content. We just don't want it shoved down our throats continuously.
Right.
Give it time to breathe.
Right.
What are some of the things that are important? You start to feel empty. None of the reboots ever seem to work. Can you think of a reboot that worked? Not really. Maybe the Mission Impossible movies.
I mean, yeah, those aren't really reboots though, because
from a TV series, they
were.
It was
there were movies based on a TV series that there was so much time in between them.
Loosely based, yeah.
Yeah, there was so much time in between them. Like there was a full 2 generations of people that had not seen the TV show when it came out. I mean, there are some things that can be quote unquote rebooted or borrowed from. And to be honest, let's be real. Most things are not new. Most ideas people have are based on, or at least inspired by something from their past. And even the new stuff are usually just different takes on literature from 100 years ago. Little Mermaid's not a unique thing. That's why there's 400 different versions of the character. Go ahead, Shane.
Right. Well, but you're right. I mean, but the thing is that most people didn't know about it. So that's the thing, is if you're going to take, subject matter that people haven't really ever heard of, then it's going to feel like it's something new at the very least. And sure, if you're going to tell the hero's journey, it's hard to tell it in a different way than it's told.
Right.
But a new story, new elements of the story. I mean, you can create something new. Studios are afraid to do that because they don't know if somebody will go watch it or not. So you end up with what do we have? They're already talking about having a new Wolverine. Daniel Radcliffe, speaking of to be the new Wolverine. I guess he's all cut up. I sent you a little link with a picture of him working out. And, why would you call for a new Wolverine when our old Wolverine is still making a movie? Why do we do that?
More importantly, what brilliant sarcasm dripping from his voice. Marketing executive over there thought it would be a good idea to talk about a Wolverine recast, reboot, etc. before the last Wolverine movie comes out.
Right.
What is up with these people jumping the gun and talking about stuff that are working on while a current project is still actively in development? Dude, I mean, James Gunn did the same thing. Black Adam. So many of these people it's like they're not talking to each other, or they purposely do it because they don't. It's this weird culture in Hollywood that they can do no wrong, that their every move they make, people are gonna love. Listen, guys, just because we like comic books doesn't mean we're a bunch of dumb simps that are just gonna buy whatever dribble you throw in front of us. At some point, there's got to be some quality there before I'm gonna watch it, and this is technically our job to watch it. At some point, I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch the next Marvel movie.
That's exactly what's going to happen. And and we see it happening already. We see the numbers. People aren't going to the theaters. The numbers aren't as good. I mean, what happens when you end up rebooting this stuff? It's like a facsimile. And what is a facsimile? It's a poor quality of the original. It's a lesser quality of the original, right? And why have original movies if financially you don't need to? And that's what the studios are saying. As long as we continue to go and support these aberrations, then it's going to continue to be this way.
Yeah, I mean, I can. It's funny. It's like I can see Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine.
Well, there you go, and that's how it all begins, right? But the problem is would you go see Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine?
Yeah. Yes, I would. In 20 years.
Okay, that's fair, but
not now.
Would you go in 2 years?
No. You got chill out. Like, slow down. Oh my
chill
God.
The hell out.
Bro,
how about this?
Like, look, there is such thing as too much is a good thing. Like, you cannot just continually throw darts at the board for a franchise until you may or may not get a hit. Slow down. And you know what? It's okay if a movie in your franchise doesn't exceed your expectations. That just means that movie is a stepping stone to the next movie that could. We have no patience. Hollywood has no patience anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four has been rebooted, 3 times? Dude, come on. I was married when the first one came out, and now I'm going to watch a third version of it.
Well, you know why they're not patient is because they are desperate to continue making more money every year. They need to make more and more and more because they're not seen as successful unless their profit margins are growing. So what happens is they feel like they have to continue doing it. And what they don't realize is they're destroying it in the process of trying to pull more money out of it.
Yeah, I believe there's something to be said for like fan confusion, and when you have like 4 different characters actors playing the same exact character, there is a confusion there. Like, oh, which do I like? Maybe I shouldn't start this movie because I haven't seen the last 3 movies.
Right.
So many times my wife does that where I'm like, hey babe, let's watch this series or this movie, and she goes, but I haven't seen the last couple ones. I'm like, those don't matter. Like I was like, let's watch Picard season 3, and she goes, oh, I haven't seen Picard seasons 1 and 2. I'm like, it doesn't matter. She goes, yeah, but I want to know what's going on. I'm like, you don't need to know. Trust me, you don't need to know nothing. No one cares about Picard season 1. She goes, well, I want to watch I'm okay with spending time with you to do that, but I knew what. And that in my mind, those words were like, this is never going to happen. Stop bothering me about it.
Right. Well, when they do try to do something different, like with an old, let's say when they reboot something, they do something different. So, for example, you've got Alien, the new movie coming out, Alien Romulus, right? Which is going to basically be a reboot of the first Alien movie. And guess what it's going to be?
No,
it's going to be it's going to be a teen slasher film.
No, come on.
It is a bunch of teenagers in space.
Why would you do that?
And it's going to be more of a horror movie than what the original movie brought, which was this, thriller, sci-fi horror. It's going to be more of like a slasher film with young teenagers. That's exactly what the new Alien movie. They just dropped it. They just started talking about it.
That is weird. That's a weird choice. Why would you take such a legendary masterpiece and reduce it to,
because that's what they think the kids
CW bullcrap, dude.
That's what they think our young generation wants to see. And I don't know if that's the case. The numbers will tell you. If you were to try to recreate the original vision of Alien, I don't know if you can replace Sigourney Weaver. I don't know if you can do that, Carol. I don't know if you can tell the story the same. And maybe you don't want to tell the exact same story, but it happened so long ago that I think you could. I think you could tell a variation of that exact same story. And not only will old fans come back to see how you've treated it and what you've done, but also new fans will fall in love with it again. Because to be honest with you, none of my kids want to watch the original Alien movie because they're like, that looks terrible. I don't want to watch that. That's crappy graphics. Nobody wants to watch that old shit. So, you could actually take something like a great movie like that and redo it, update it in today's terms, adjust the story a touch, to make it more interesting. But, basically having it become, what's that movie with the mask? Scream? Basically have it Alien Scream version.
Right.
Like, really? Like, that's where we're at?
Right. Like,
how did this happen?
Yeah, what was the CW so popular that everyone's like, we really need to capture the essence that was the CW and take every single TV show and movie and book and whatever that anyone loved and just reduce it to some CW bullshit.
No, they're obsessed with tapping into youth culture because they know that they've got you for another 10 to 20 years if they can capture you as a teenager or as a young adult. That's what these studios are obsessed with. The problem is, like we've said many times before, is teenagers and young adults aren't paying for shit. We're still paying for everything.
Right.
So, I mean, all the kids still live at home. Like, good luck, especially in the United States. Like, 30 is the new, like, get out of the house age. I hate to say it. Because nobody, at least, especially in California, can afford to move.
Right.
So, parents are still paying for these things. And I'm not saying that you need to cater to everything that we need, and you don't need to lock into a new generation. But I would say that, pandering to the lowest common denominator, while it may make you the most amount of money now, down the road, it's going to hurt you the most because these franchises are basically just, washed up pieces of garbage that you're going to send down the disposal.
Right.
They become worthless in the future because you get to a point where they've been so, tattered out, so played out that nobody wants to touch it. We're seeing that with all of our Disney products right now. We're seeing that it's slowly starting to happen where, who wants to go see the next damn Transformers movie? Can I get a raised hand here? Does anybody really want to see another Transformers movie?
I sort of do.
No. You do?
A little bit.
All right. Okay. Well,
the last one wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
I was a big fan of Transformers as a kid.
But how many of these damn movies can you watch where you're like, okay, now what? Like, what's next?
I'm just waiting for them to, do what I've been wanting Transformers to do for a long time. Like, can I get like a Transformers movie that's about Transformers? Like, can we do that? Can we like get some real Transformers lore that's not like half the movie is some mechanic
About some kid, yeah.
or some kid or something? Like,
right.
Can we just do Transformers? Like, can we do that? Like, I don't understand. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you go back to the heart of the cartoon, it was the relationship between the humans and the Transformers. I get that.
I get
that.
They
have not done a full-on, Transformer against Transformer on Transformer movie.
I would say that the best Transformers movie was the first one with Shia LaBeouf. That was the best one. You felt a connection to Optimus Prime. Like that movie was good. It felt the best. And then it just got weird and sort of like really childish and somehow Shia got even more Shia. Like he turned it up to like 11 at some point. And just things didn't make no sense. It's become a parody of itself. And then when you brought, like, I like Marky Mark, bro, but when you brought Marky Mark in, all right, well, good luck with that. Like, what's next? I'm assuming The Rock's going to be in the next one. So
no, I mean, I think it's gone way past that. So Marky Mark doesn't even touch those movies anymore. But when you go back to the idea that there's 792 movies released, go back to the idea that there's 600 scripted television series. I mean, let's ask ourselves the honest question. How many great writers are there?
Right.
How many great directors, producers, cinematographers? How many great staffs are there? How many great production teams are there? How many great editors are there? Are there that many? Like, you get a Steven Spielberg or a Francis Ford Coppola, or you get some of these great, directors and producers over time. But the problem is our market is so flooded full of content that it becomes this amalgam of mediocrity, and we just don't know what to do with it. And so they take our favorite series and our favorite franchises that once upon a time, were created lovingly or made lovingly by creators who were giving of their first flower, right? They were coming into their own. They were creating something beautiful and unique. Mm-hmm. And now we're handing them off to, no offense, but like, mediocre writers who are then taking these products for the studio who don't want to take chances on these new creative ideas by new people, and they want to rehash the old stuff with mediocre people doing the work. And that's why we have shit.
And there's a lot of mediocre. Earlier you said, like, how many people are there that can actually, run these shows? There's a limited pool. I think when you were saying that, you're referring to a limited pool of competent individuals.
Yes.
Because there are plenty of people who are not competent and are given their jobs via nepotism or some kind of social hierarchy or something like that, and they're just not very good. But there's a limited pool of trusted, good creatives. Go ahead.
Well, then top it all off with the idea. No, you make a really great point. So, and then top it all off with the fact that we're trying to force these, people based on their gender, their sex, and their race into certain roles, and now now we're also like flooding the market with mediocre actors. Not saying that they might not be, but somebody who, if you're the right race, religion, color, whatever gender, if you're the right one, you might get picked for a role that you wouldn't have been picked for in 1,000 years, because you weren't good enough. The person making the director sits down and he looks and he watches your performance, and the people making it the TV show, and they go, wow, that really embodies that character. Now they look at it and go, we really need an African-American female in the role. So get me one of those.
Right.
And how many, look, there's tons of great African-American female actors, but are there as many as they want? You see what I'm saying? So
again, though, you can write new characters, right?
I don't know if they know that.
Do they know?
Or they're afraid to take a chance.
Okay, so can someone tell them that they can just write new characters and give them whatever attributes they require? It doesn't. They don't have to recycle old ones. It's not like a World of Warcraft account, right? It's not like you're like, I don't want to lose my level 100. Oh, maybe that's what it is actually. Maybe Harry Potter's the level 100 orc. And they're like, well, we just want to change the way he looks. We don't want to lose his stats.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They don't want to start fresh. They don't want to start with a level 1. That's what it is.
That's true.
Well,
yeah, we have to find a way to get back to being chosen by merit. And I get it. It's all, Hollywood's always been an industry of who do you know, right?
Right.
But success breeds success, and it needs to be more about, hey, this person really elevates my product, my whatever I'm trying to produce, and not, how can I make sure I don't get fired by making sure I have these people of these color, gender, whatever in the role. And that's kind of what it's turned into. And it's really a sad day for us, people waiting for the next great product to come out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you entirely, Mr. Shane.
Thank you, sir. And I agree with you as well.
Mostly.
I do.
All right. Yeah. So listen, but you need to let us know what you think. So if you're watching this VOD later on, hit the comment section and let us know what you guys think about, not just the new Harry Potter or the new series or whatever, but are the franchises, is the hunt for the $1 billion franchise, is that killing creativity? Because between the studios wanting the easy layup $1 billion property, and the writers having very little talent half the time and trying to inject their own stuff, is that killing the movie going, the TV going experience? There is very little going on. I know there's a strike. But there's a show I've been watching with my wife called Survive the Raft. And it's a non-scripted TV show. Shane, what is a non-scripted TV show?
It means that the outcome is not is still planned, but it's people who don't get paid to act or write.
It's a reality show.
I was going to say they're not reality anymore, though. They say it's reality, but it's really just real people getting paid to do shit and do what you're told to do. That's what I think.
Right. Okay, so this is what the show looks like, and I promise I have a point here, so please stick with me. This show is actually it's fascinating because it's based on an actual real world experiment. Back in the 70s, some archaeologists named anthropologist named, I want to say Santiago something. He devised an experiment where he put a bunch of different types of people on. He literally employed people as part of his his experiment. Jesus, I can't say the word.
Anthropological experiment.
Thank you. And he purposely went out of his way to get people that were so different. Women, men, people from different political backgrounds, social economical backgrounds, genders and races, etc., etc. And he put them on a raft. Santiago believed that within days that the raft in the middle of the ocean where these people had to survive on their own. And so they were basically hired to go on a raft, and they would work together to survive on the raft in the middle of the ocean. And Santiago would be there with his little diary, and he'd be like recording the experiment. Like Jane watching apes.
Yeah.
And he was convinced, and his diary is up. You can actually go buy it. He was convinced that within days, these people would go full on, like Lord of the Flies, and they'd be like killing each other for food, and women would be raped, and men would be, cannibalized. He thought it was going to be a disaster. Now, if you really thought that, why the F did you get on the raft with him, bro?
That's true, yeah.
Well, what's interesting is the opposite of that happened. The people, even though they're from different political backgrounds, religious backgrounds, racial backgrounds, socioeconomical backgrounds, different genders, shapes, sizes, etc., guess what they did, Shane?
They got along?
They got along. Not only did they get along, but they thrived and they enjoyed it. In fact, they all took the job because they were like, who doesn't want to get paid to go on vacation? Right. In their minds, they're going on a free cruise, getting paid for it, and all they got to do is look after themselves. So they're hunting for fish. They're taking care of each other. They're all using each other's skills. In fact, some of them are even being semi-romantic. And Santiago was getting pissed. He's like, "What the actual?" Their response to the experiment was proving him to be an idiot, of which he was. Right. Okay. He tried to goad them. He tried to steal their food. He tried to convince them to fight with each other. That person doesn't like you. And it got to the point, the same way producers
are showing that?
Huh?
Is that behind the scenes or actually during the show?
No, this is not a show. This was the original experiment.
Oh, I see. I got you.
Well, what happened was in the original experiment, the original crew of the raft was like, "Hey, this Santiago guy is an asshole," and they basically mutinied against him and threw him off.
That's great.
So this show, they go, let's create this original experiment as a reality show, totally misrepresenting the original experiment, and they completely misrepresent it, and they try to make it seem like exactly what Santiago thought would happen did happen. Well, guess what? This show, as much as they're trying to drum up as much drama as they can and at one point they offer someone $50,000 to turn on their crewmates, and the person refuses.
What? That's bullshit.
Yes. No, I'm serious, because the whole point of it is they go to do like these challenges, and one person always has the chance to steal the rest of the money from the group. And it started off with like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. This last one, they're getting desperate. They're like $50,000.
So you get to steal the money from the rest of the group,
right? So they're desperately trying to. Now there is some drama on the ship, but for the most part, it's actually a pretty good time. So the original experiment is basically playing out the original way. So I'm enjoying this because it's a train wreck, but for all the right reasons.
You know, it's funny. If they really wanted to make it interesting, what they need to do is they need to have like all these people on Twitter, right? They need to have all these people on Twitter for like 6 months in advance, like talking to each other on Twitter, but they don't know who each other are because they're anonymous, right?
Right.
So they have them in these different, this will be a great reality TV show. They're all together and they're tracked basically on Twitter by this production company who sees them arguing, fighting with each other, being assholes to each other. "Oh, I rip your head off. Oh, screw you and your political beliefs, blah, 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 blah."
Right.
Then take those same people and put them on a raft in the middle of the ocean. right?
Right.
And then let's take a look at what non-accountability and then accountability does, and show their tweets, right? Show their tweets, and now show their relationship, and let's show the world how humanity truly works, because that would actually be an interesting show.
Hey, Kevin. So, Lisa doesn't know, but you're actually XXX Duke Hitler didn't do anything wrong on Twitter, and Lisa, you're vegan booty lover. And you guys have been talking 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, what's funny is
they like fell in love on the boat or something.
Right. And then all of a sudden they're like, you can see what they try to do. Like they literally are like, they put like a Muslim, an African American Baptist, a woman Baptist preacher who curses a lot, and some white fisherman. And then they also they had I'm not gonna go through all the cast lists. They had a trans person. They had a very large ex-military hunter and a vegan girl.
Well, see that, because when you put human beings together, guess what they're going to do? They're going to try to work with each other. That's what humans do. Like you give. We give and take. That's why humanity has survived as long as it has, is because we have these social responsibilities to each other.
Yeah.
And when we don't want to be held accountable for somebody face to face. Who wants that? Who wants the heat in their face? Most people don't. And so you'll act accordingly when you're in a group. I just
find it hilarious that like you took the most opposite, like literally a skinny vegan chick and an outspoken ex-military game hunter. You put them on a boat, and then you're confused when the game hunter's like, no, listen, no, if you don't want to eat meat, understand. Let's try to be respectful. And everyone's like, what's going on here? I've heard this guy's podcast. He doesn't like vegans. No. He doesn't like being vegan.
Right. That's the difference. They don't understand. They don't understand the difference.
It has nothing to do. He has no problem with that random person. Right. He doesn't want to adopt the lifestyle. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's crazy. So we've been watching that because there's not much else to watch, and I'm realizing that I can only catch up on old stuff for so long. There's going to be a moment where Hollywood cannot, or the studios have to start if they want to stay, with the current model, they got to start creating more Stranger Things, more Game of Thrones, more unique phenomenons that become culturally relevant forever.
Yes, 100%. They need to, and it's not that it's not that hard. You just have to take some really creative individuals and let them go out and do it, and then you got to trust them to come back and and for you to spend your millions of dollars to actually have it made. Now, but if you hit the jackpot, then you're going to be just fine. But the problem is, and as we're going to see as we transition, are you giving me a transition moment? Is that what you're doing right here?
That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Okay, so.
I've been trying to do it for like 3 points now.
Okay, well, for this point, that's right. Good because as we'll see with Bob Iger, there's a fear in letting people do new things, and that fear is it might destroy your legacy.
Oh,
so here we go.
Bum bum bum.
Bum bum bum.
Okay, so. Can you tell me the difference between Iger and Chapek? Obviously different people, but their leadership styles. Like, why is Chapek regarded as someone who is incapable of the job, while Iger is so capable that he was brought back twice?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's the deal: because Bob Iger never left, and Bob Iger selected Bob Chapek. And you got to think of it as like Batman and Robin. Okay. Mm-hmm. Bob Iger is Batman and Bob Chapek is Robin. Mm. And so Bob Chapek was a guy who was in charge of the Disney parks. That was his job. He got Disney Shanghai going, and he was basically somebody who was kind of groomed by Bob Iger to take over the role. Now, what's interesting is Bob Iger, he kept pushing his retirement for long periods of time. Now let's go back. Now we got to be clear. There's a lot of negativity about Bob Iger, tons of it, rightly so deserved. But you also have to look at Bob Iger as to who he really is, and he is a cultural maverick, an icon in the industry. He talked Steve Jobs into selling him Pixar. He talked Robert Murdoch into selling him Fox. He got Marvel. He got Disney from George Lucas. The list goes on and on and on. This guy,
he did all of that because you're right. Yeah, I'm looking at this chart. Like 2006, he did all of that in a period of like less than 20 years. He basically just bought up all the biggest franchises.
Yeah, so he was CEO for about 15 years, and listen, Michael Eisner, who was the CEO before him, was considered an incredible CEO for Disney. Really took Disney to new heights. But Bob Iger, even took him even further. I mean, he's arguably the greatest CEO Disney's had since Walt. And when you take a look at what he did, is I think that if you look at Bob Iger, he became kind of like his own Hollywood A-lister. He became a superstar in his own right.
Right.
He became bigger than any actor, he became a cultural icon himself. And so what happens is when you become the CEO of probably one of the most important companies, the most, important political or not important cultural companies that Disney is for America, you kind of get to a place where you're like, well, I've created this legacy for myself. I don't want to see it destroyed, but I also don't want to see somebody do better than me.
Right.
And so what he did by bringing Chapek in, now this is what's really interesting, a lot of people don't realize, is that even though Bob Iger was stepping down, he had successfully created a position where he would continue being Bob Chapek's boss for the next 2 years that Bob Chapek stepped in to be CEO.
Oh, wow.
He still had an office. He was still there. And overall, he still had creative control to say yes and no about things over Bob Chapek.
Oh, my God.
Bob Iger didn't truly step down, folks. So Bob Chapek was brought in. He had no leadership skills. He's a very good manager. He's good with money, but he didn't have leadership skills. A couple of the other guys who happened to be up and coming, who could have replaced Iger, that were a little bit more alpha type males, he specifically pushed them down to make sure they didn't get the role because he didn't want somebody to come in and do better than him. Right. Here's what Bob Iger thought. And we learned this because Bob Iger, throughout the years, he went around and handpicked every one of the board of directors for Disney. He picked people he was close to, people he knew, people who owed him favors. He spent his entire time actually creating an environment that would keep him there the longest, keep him in control the longest. So when Chapek was brought in, it was somebody who he thought, wouldn't have any power over him, that he could still control like a puppet. You got to think of Disney almost as a little country. Think of him as like a leader who, kind of has to go at a certain point, but let me figure out how I can continue to have power over this. He also didn't want somebody to come in and do what he had done to Michael Eisner, which was basically become a better CEO than Eisner had. Iger became better than Eisner, and Michael Eisner was the shit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when Iger came in, he didn't want somebody to come in and usurp his legacy. Who remembers what Michael Eisner did? Nobody, right? Not really.
Right.
It's all Bob Iger, the Bob Iger show. And I think he's so narcissistic that he didn't want somebody to come in and be able to do that. So think about it like this. Chapek came in 2020, right? 2021, 2022, Iger's back. Iger also got his contract extended through like 2026, 2027, where he could still be in control. So I think this is all of this has been a ploy for Bob Iger to stay in power and stay in control while making it look like he was trying to find a successor, because after so many years, it's appropriate for him to do that.
Right.
But continue to maintain and stay in power and to have the benefits of that power. And I think a lot of this pandering and catering to these groups, and the reason why Disney's products are the way they are, is it's Iger wanting to stay in power as long as possible, trying to float the boat down the most, he's already set his legacy. That's the thing about Iger. It really doesn't matter what happens at this point.
He should have never came back. He's ruining his legacy right now.
He never left, Brian.
I know, but he shouldn't have
Never
came
left.
back into the limelight as CEO.
Well, he thought he could change it. He thought he could fix it.
He should have pulled a Homer and just sort of faded back into the bushes.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If he had done that and it had never come out that he really, he turned it over to the wrong person, number one, and that's because he was never really turning it over at all.
Right.
And this is going to come out. This is a new article that just came out, cnbc.com. And the mess of the Disney succession, Iger Chapek thing. And it really goes, I mean, even looking at the interviews, you can see that Chapek is like, look at the two next to each other. Listen to the two talk. It's like, how did you make this guy the CEO? Well, because he was going to be his puppet. And that's pretty much it.
Right.
And that's what all of the studios. So all the studios are doing this. Michael Eisner tried to do the same thing to Iger. So that's what a lot of people don't know is he tried to create a situation where he would continue to be like chairman of the board for another 2 years while Iger first became CEO, but it failed because Eisner didn't have control of the board of directors. So when Iger got into power, what he did immediately was he went around and made sure he had control of all the board of directors. He made sure the people who were appointed because of him, so that when the time came, they would vote whatever he wanted voted.
Right.
And Eisner wasn't able to accomplish that, so he couldn't stick around. But guess what? Who is not going to give Iger another year, another 2 years? I mean, he's the reason why they're there in the first place. It's the worst. It's the worst sort of nepotism.
And there's really no way to save it other than to sort of, fall back a little bit. Stop making big plays and start doing, business as usual. I don't really know. But I think that Disney has a long, arduous uphill climb because they've lost a lot of market buy-off from fans. A lot of people feel like Star Wars, and I feel the same way. Star Wars has been irreparably damaged to the point where I'm no longer interested in something that used to make me giggle. Indiana Jones, irreparably damaged. A lot of these things, like I don't trust Disney anymore. And when I found out that Disney bought Star Wars, and I think we had this conversation way back then, I was like, awesome. There's a studio that has unlimited money that can make the best possible Star Wars. This is going to be great. And lo and behold, I was wrong. So,
well, and none of us at the time. I mean, Disney had been nothing but successful.
Right.
So who would have thought that they were going to come in and just ruin Star Wars? Nobody did.
Right. So it's not just Star Wars. There's a lot. And they're even going back to their own properties, their own fantastical, successful characters and stories, and they're ruining those too. And I don't know how to fix it other than, stop. Like,
yeah,
you had the ability to make a live action Little Mermaid, one of the most successful cartoon animated movies of all time. And you chose to make decisions that were so contrary and so different than the original beloved movie that was hyper successful. And then you go, why didn't anyone like it? Because people are racist. No, you made a different movie.
Right. As soon as they realized that, okay, well, they were doing great there for a while. They had Finding Nemo. They had Moana. They had Encanto. They had Frozen. They had a bunch of really good movies that came out that everybody wanted to see. And what was it about those movies that was great? They were new. They were different. They were unique. I mean, you go watch Moana. I mean, who doesn't love Moana? I mean, it's musically fantastic. It's got an interesting story. It's unique and it's different.
Right.
Now they're going to do a Moana live action, and I get it. Maybe it's of all of the live actions. I understand why, because you have Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, you can't do that in 20 years.
You can't. And so doing it now, I get it. But for everything else, just go and do the next story. And I understand it's sometimes more expensive, and there's more creativity to go do that. And why can't you just rehash your old content? Well, you haven't done a live action this. We haven't done that, and go out and actually create your new products. Get people, go out. The Moana story was great. It was like an island legend, and they went out and found it, and they did it.
I'm honestly very excited about live action Moana. And I'm
very excited about it. But
I'm not even a huge fan of the cartoon movie. I'm not even a huge fan. But watching the movie and seeing like the story and the visuals, I can only imagine the adventure that you can tell on screen with a real. I don't want to say a real movie like animated movies not, but honestly, for me, animated movies are just sort of like, that's fine, cool. They're in the background. I like live action.
I want to see, but here's the thing about live action versus cartoon. I don't give a shit if it's the same story. Like, I don't want to keep watching the same story over and over again. The idea is to get new stories. I mean, we're only alive for so many years on this planet. I don't want to keep hearing the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
There are creative people. Let them come up with new ideas and let's watch them. That's it. Go make them. That's what cinema's all about. It's not continuously rehashing old shit.
I don't know. I would have, you know what? Then I would have rather have Moana came out live action in the first place, because I can see it as being such a amazing live action film, like a classic, an instant classic even.
Yeah, I agree.
But it really can't be a classic in its animated form. Not in the same way. Not in the same way.
Disney has classic animated.
I know, but I love Little Mermaid and Aladdin, but like, they're never going to be on my top 10 list of movies. But you know what? If you had made the movie Aladdin in live action, that movie, it might be on my top 10 list. But I don't think I'm ever going to put an animated movie on my top 10.
Disney's, no disrespect to you or me or anybody our age, Disney's not making movies for us. Okay, at least they shouldn't be. I wouldn't encourage them to do so. That's not the fucking business you're in. You're in the business of making movies for children. And those children grow up and they show it to their children.
Well, then they shouldn't be making live action then. Let's just keep animated. Yeah.
They shouldn't. I mean, if you're going to make live action, I mean, they've made live action for a long time. And go ahead. But you don't need to take your classics and turn them into live action. Continue to do animation amazingly, which is what children love to watch anyways. Create these classic stories. Continue to develop them. Why do we need a Toy Story 5? Why? We don't.
Are we up to 5 already?
They're trying to make a 5th one.
Well, if you don't bring Tim Allen back, you're making first thoughts and knowing nothing about the project. If you don't bring Tim Allen back and you replace him with another actor, it's not going to work out.
But we're already talking about this wrong. We shouldn't even be talking about a Toy Story 5. Fuck Tim Allen. Fuck Tom. I don't know why I said that.
Tom Hanks?
Fuck Tom Hanks. Fuck them all.
What?
Okay, goodbye. No more Toy Story.
I liked him.
I don't care. No more. 4 was enough. We don't need a 5th one with your old-ass voices.
Technically,
I love you guys.
Enough. Technically, 3 is enough. Technically, 2 is enough. I mean, more's enough.
But I'm just saying, like, at the point that it becomes a money grab, right?
Yes. But if there's still stories to tell, and I'll argue that Toy Story 3 was a great movie.
Right, so Toy Story 4 wasn't horrible.
Yeah, so far Toy Story is not. No, that's not true though. Toy Story has not yet
ended it.
Made a bad film.
I get it, but the story is over.
How is that?
When you look at where they're at the end of 4, it's like, where do you go from here?
No, it could be over. That doesn't mean it's over. There's a world of talking toys. You can go on. You can do this forever.
That's the problem. Fuck that. That sucks.
No, but why not? Well, why not introduce new characters and continue the story?
No, because it's not continuing to be good.
I want to see the toys that live in the forest.
Oh,
on their own.
You're part of the problem.
I want this to turn into a science fiction thing where the toys try to rise up against humanity, bro. They start their own toy factory.
How about this?
And they start cranking out soldiers. And next thing you know, it's basically Terminator 2.
Well, and I would more respect a Toy Story, movie that was a crossover of the Terminator. Come up with something fresh and new for me to go watch. Interesting. Somebody made a comment here. Drew D made a comment here. Do you guys remember the feeling when you watched Shrek? I got to tell you, Drew, such a great point. When I watched Shrek in the theater, I laughed my ass off through the whole thing. And at the end of the movie, I walked out and I said to the person I went with, I can't believe that was an animated movie. Like the joy that you get from something like that for the very first time. He's right. What happened to reaching out and doing movies like that, starting over, finding a new area that we haven't explored yet and do something different that's good with great talent like Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, right? Great talent with great new things is what we need.
I'm sorry, I don't want to throw water on your flame. I loved Shrek too. But you are saying, and I'm devil's advocate here, you're saying why not do something new? Except for Shrek wouldn't exist without the hundreds of properties that it mocked or based its characters on it that came before it.
But that was new. Nobody had mocked it. Nobody had done that sort of humor in a animation before.
I understand, but it couldn't have existed without the art that came before it. There's definitely an argument for, like, this is why trademark laws are out of control, because you cannot. It's very difficult. I would say impossible to create something actually new. There's going to be inspiration from existing property.
I'm talking about. I'm not saying go out and like create something that has never been seen or heard of before. It's fucking impossible. Like I challenge you to go find a new storyline. It's almost impossible because there's so much property and IP. You can't. That's not what I'm saying. Shrek was not new, right? What did they do? They took fairy tales, right? And they created a story and they just kind of flipped turned it into an anti-hero cartoon, right? Shrek's an anti-hero. That they just hadn't done that before.
That was new. Yeah, you're right.
So you could take a property, you could take something new, what I'm saying new, an idea that you haven't done before.
Right.
I.e. Lex Luthor's the hero. I don't know. Do something different.
They did that.
Did it? What was that?
Yeah, they did that. Lex Luthor saves the world.
What was it? That was
the last episode of Justice League Unleashed.
I'm sorry, I don't count cartoons like
no,
that.
I mean, it's awesome comic. I mean, it's been done.
But I'm talking about big produced things like
this is why comics are a great way to make movies, because like you can judge what people already like, and a lot of the average public have not seen those. You already have a basis of what people are going to watch. Problem is they started doing it that way, but then they're like, you know what? Let's call it the name of the comics that people like, but then write a completely different story. What do you guys think? Yeah?
But why? Why do that?
Why? Why would you do that? I don't know.
Why would you do that? Because because you're busy running around checking all the boxes.
Right.
Like, how can we get the most people? And it's like what you said earlier. Everybody's chasing the $1 billion movie. Barbie. It's a misnomer. They never made a movie about Barbie before. You got the Barbie song. You've got, I mean, they've never done it. So it was like Super Mario Brothers, right? There had never been an animated Super Mario Brothers movie before. So, I mean, there hadn't been. There had been a live action Super Mario Brothers movie that was terrible in the 80s.
It was pretty terrible.
Early 90s. But they'd never done this before for, aimed at kids. So those are movies that are going to make $1 billion. I
love Mario Brothers. I don't know why you didn't like it as much as I thought you would.
No, it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just middle. It's mid, I guess the kids would say.
I don't know. I thought it was great. I
don't know. I didn't find it to be great. I didn't find it to be elevating in any way. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was fine. It was good, but it wasn't. I mean, I think Dungeons and Dragons was a better movie.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons was really clever, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I want clever. I want smart. I want intelligent.
D&D is not, the new D&D movie is not getting enough credit because I think the time it came out, like the whole social landscape at the time with everything going on, and then in addition, like its competition, I don't think Dungeons and Dragons, I don't think it should have came out. I think they should have, I don't know how to say that movie, but like it should have been a hit and it wasn't, and you got to ask yourself why. What went wrong?
Because Dungeons and Dragons will never be a hit.
But why? That movie was so good, and like it was so clever, and had so many great references. Whether you're a normie or you know nothing about D&D, or you actually know about D&D, or you're a video game player, or you're not, anyone can enjoy the crap out of it. There was enough in there to please every single demographic with great acting, really an insane level of chemistry. You checked all your boxes you wanted to. You literally did. That was from on paper, that was pretty much a perfect film.
Right. No, you're right. So why didn't it work? Because the IP has such a small niche audience. And it's not, and that's one of the problems that the studios have. That's why they're doing the things that they're doing. They're worried about making more Dungeons and Dragons movies. They don't want that to happen. They want Super Mario movies. They want Barbie movies.
So how do you make something new and be successful if something like even D&D, almost perfect on paper, couldn't have been successful?
Well, and there were a lot of D&D movies that were terrible that came before it. And so that's also like, well, I'm not going to get excited for a D&D movie. But I guarantee you everybody who played D&D went and saw that movie. It's just, it's a small number of people. No, there has to be something that's going to break the culture. We're going to need to, there's going to need to be something groundbreaking. So they're going to have to come up with a new story idea that's different, that will also, you're going to have a great actor. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy to come up with something new. It's going to be hard. You're going to have an amazing actor. I mean, take Interstellar, like basically all Christopher Nolan movies. Right? Like those are all pretty much new.
Yeah,
right?
At this point, though, Christopher
ideas.
Nolan is the star that sells it.
Right. But the reason why is because you would go to the movie and be like, holy crap, now that's an experience. Right? Every time he'd make a movie, you're like just blown away by it. They allowed him the freedom to do that. And we need more creatives like that.
I just hate Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
For one reason.
Go ahead.
Because since Inception, every single movie trailer has the I can't escape that sound. It's in every single trailer I watch since that movie came out. Inception was a fantastic film. Very unique, very cool. Love the sci-fi thriller on the aspect of it. But you know what? Because of your success, dude, that sound haunts me.
Okay, that's fair. But we got new cinema, right? Interstellar. Fantastic movie, man. I watched it. I just watched it the other day.
I liked Inception more than Interstellar, personally.
Okay, that's fine. To each their own. I'm surprised. Interstellar's like major sci-fi stuff there.
It's just a lot of slow to it. There's nothing slow about Inception.
Good point. But I would say that we need more things like that. People to take more chances. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Movies like that people can go, oh, this is going to be incredible. And then you'll get people who get word of mouth, and that's what it's going to take. And then they'll come watch it. And then perhaps you can create a franchise from it. Stranger Things, for example, that Netflix did. You went out, you did it. They had to create some new content, so they did, but they hit a gold mine, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have to take these chances and try to find something new. The rehashing of old stuff. Yeah, people are going to be curious. They're going to be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go see that because there's nothing else to watch. But until you truly take some risk and have less fear of losing your job, like Bob Iger, like a lot of these studio heads, if they don't make enough money, Brian, they lose their jobs, period. That's it. So so there's less incentive to try new things when you have almost guaranteed money makers sitting there, even though, yeah, they're tired and worn out. People don't have nothing else to watch. So they're going to go watch, the 20-second version of Jason or, of Halloween. I mean, how many times is Halloween going to come out? There's another damn Halloween movie coming out. I thought the last one was the last one. Like why?
I just want to see. I just want to see like a full on Endgame style horror movie crossover where it's like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, the guy from Scream, whatever his name. What was that character's name? Scream guy.
Ghost head.
Ghostface killer.
Yeah.
Ghostface killer. Like I want like a full Endgame style movie, like that accumulates with all the killers, having to fight each other, and one of them ends up flipping for some reason to save the world.
Okay. Well, see, and when you do that, that's officially the end. Like you can't do anything.
Right, but but guys, listen, you'll make billions of dollars, but
that'll be it.
You can't make any more. Okay, go. Hey, no. Shut up, Jerry. Listen, this movie will be make billions of dollars. You will go down in history as a rainmaker. But no more Jason.
Yeah.
Stop. You had no more Scream. You got to do something new.
And I think that's why I'm so in love with the Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever you're calling it. I'm just in love with it because, almost every one of their shows is like fresh, right, and different and unique. And even if it's based on like a different product, whether it's Isaac Asimov or something else or another novel, it's new. Like and I got to tell you, when the strike, if it ever ends and they go back to producing, that's going to be where I'm going to park my seat. I'm going to park it there because I'm just tired of everything else. I don't want to see anymore. I want good stories. And if they're going to continue to give us more, the next Spider-Man or the next whatever movie, and it's a good story, yeah, sure, I'll show up for it, of course. But I'm no longer going to just consume everything they put in front of my face.
We got some super chats in the members section here. Don't want to know what I'm. This is from Rec Thoughts. He says, for $2, thank you, Rec Thoughts. He says, Iger is a politician. It's true. And at one point, I think he was going to run for some kind of office. President?
That is 100% true. That's Michael. That's what I was. Yeah. What's that?
Wasn't he going to run for like president or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to those idiots.
John Burns for $2.79. Thank you, John. Also says you can make Rocky 5. You can make Toy Story 5.
Okay. No, John. You can make Rocky 5, yes, barely, because Rocky 5 was not a good movie. I mean, I guess you can. People are going to show up and watch it, but do I need it? Did I need Rocky 5? No. Do I need Tommy Morrison and Rocky living back in his slummed up fucking house and his kid hating him and Tommy Morrison kicking his ass to the curb? No, I didn't need that Rocky. Okay, I could have ended at 4 when he kicks the Russian's ass and we're all on top of the world, okay? The eye of the tiger, baby. And that was all I needed.
Eye of the tiger is the king of the fight. Okay, hold on.
But, if Toy Story 5 comes out, I'll probably end up watching the damn thing, so whatever.
Another one from John Burns. Thank you, John. D&D didn't work because Hugh Grant was Oompa.
Oh, shit. He's the Hugh Grant's the Oompa Loompa.
Oompa Loompa.
In the upcoming...
Don't even get me started on Wonka.
Talk about ruining shit.
I was so excited when I heard they were making I like the Willy Wonka story. I'm sorry, guys. I like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story I had since I was a kid. I thought it was going to be rad. I was like, oh, a new Wonka without the weird Johnny Depp, weird stuff he does. Like, he's basically Jack Sparrow, but with chocolate now. I was like, yes. And then they're like, it's a prequel. And I'm like, oh, no. What? No. Then I'm like, and the lead is Timothy Chalamet. I'm like, what? What? No. What? What's going on right now? Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa. I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? Oh, man. So disappointing. Also, from John Burns, you almost described Virtuosity, Brian. Yes. I believe. Again, everything is based on something. Virtuosity is a movie
I like Virtuosity.
From the 90s, yeah. About like a bunch of serial killers.
That was actually a really cool movie. And, we need more cool movies like that. Thank you, John. August TV 123, and we're going to talk about this here coming up for $5. Thank you so much, August TV. Code of Honor sucks, but if it's racist, so is Up the Long Ladder. Actually, Up the Long Ladder is worse. They throw in like every Irish trope. Really well said. And we are going to talk about whether or not Code of Honor is actually racist. And I went really deep into this one, so I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah, that's our next topic. I was going to say that super chat, but it's okay.
Oh, I see.
John Burns, also 699. Shia would be the girl in the movie if you listen to Megan Fox's dialogue about cars, but since we're looking at her, the message can get mixed up.
That's pretty well said.
Once again,
he's also a kid. So
I would argue once again. There's the most American thing I've seen in a while was the end of the first Transformers movie where the sun is setting, Optimus Prime is spitting some long drawn out, inspirational music. Linkin Park is playing behind him and the camera pans over a Camaro with Megan Fox on the hood, and he's like, until next time, my friends. And you're like, woo! And then right after that, everything went to hell.
Right. That's true.
John Byrne says it's unscripted like professional wrestling.
That's right. Non-scripted like professional wrestling. And I do think of reality TV as like professional wrestling. The outcome is already determined.
Yep. And Drew D, member for 23 months. Thank you, Drew. He says, can producers hire writers outside the union?
No, not officially. They get scabbed if they do that. Yeah, I mean they could try, but it's gonna look bad and it's gonna come back on them. So
yeah.
But like the great Terry Matalas said, he's working on stuff for afterwards. So I always thought, I'm like, should you even tell people you're working on stuff for afterwards? Like, could that get you in trouble? You know?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to.
I wondered that too.
You know?
Another super chat from Michael Nemo, actually in our Streamlabs. So again, if you want to send us super chats, you don't want to become a member, go to streamlabs.com/the Popcast Live. The link is at the top right. It's also pinned and it's in the description. It's a great place to go watch the show and interact with us. Michael Nemo for $4 says there was an interview with Mel Brooks once where he said in response to Spaceballs, a Spaceballs sequel, he said that they only have the title Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2.
That's great. That's great. Oh, I miss Mel Brooks, man.
That's great. I love that.
His movies were so wonderful. I mean, you know, Spaceballs is one of those movies that didn't need a sequel. It just didn't. And I know sometimes we don't want the good times to stop. But here's the deal. When the good times stop, that's when you should stop making stuff. That's it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Code of Honor because this is actually pretty fascinating. You wanna explain the premises right now?
Yeah. So let me close a couple of these things here. So essentially, an article came out, and I was just kind of perusing stuff, and this is not the first time this has come up.
No, it's not. It came out 2 years ago too.
It really has, but it has come up recently. So on redshirtsalwaysdie.com, they came out with, it was kind of like a little essay. Jonathan Frakes says that the infamous Star Trek The Next Generation episode Code of Honor should be pulled from streaming, and he's right. That's what it said here.
Yeah. You're wrong, and so is he. Sorry.
Right. And so it goes through this entire discussion about why, things perhaps being racist, perhaps not. But let's give you some backstory on this. So I happened to watch this episode this morning just to kind of refresh on it, because some of the things that I heard floating around about why this episode is racist had to do something with Tasha Yar being white, and the leader over here, the guy on the right that you see, Luton, the leader of this world, wanting her because she was a white woman.
Right. And
it just goes to show that people tend to put their own spin on things. Like, that's not what happened at all in the episode.
Nope.
There was no like he wanted her because he was white. He wanted her because she was a badass fighter, and she like kicked the shit out of his dudes, and he like became enamored with her.
Right.
As often us men will do when a woman is a badass and impresses us, right? In this culture, he was completely impressed with what a great fighter. And it goes on to show later in the episode that the wife that he currently has was also a good fighter as well. So obviously that's something that he was impressed with. Now,
let me ask you a question. You said his name was what? King what?
It wasn't King. It was Luton.
Oh, Luton.
But
I could have sworn that was T'Challa.
Okay.
Because all the people complaining that this planet is full of black people that are dressed in customary African garb. The people complaining about that and calling it the most racist thing ever, I guess they haven't seen Black Panther and Wakanda Forever.
Well, it's different. It is different.
Is it that much different? It's an entire society that is based on that region of Earth.
Well, okay. So a couple of things that are wrong. There are some things wrong here. Okay. There are some things that are not right. Number one, okay, this is out in space, and this is a alien civilization. These aren't humans. They aren't people from Earth. This is an alien race. And when it was originally written, the script was originally written, those were supposed to be reptilian people.
Oh, that would have been cool, actually.
Right. They weren't supposed to be. But the guy who directed the episode, who was an actual longtime director, he had been directing for years, and he had directed things like The $6 Million Man and Brady Bunch and like tons of stuff.
All right.
It was his choice to switch them to African Americans or black people.
Yeah, maybe he just read a Black Panther comic. I mean, dude, like, look, just because they're aliens doesn't mean anything. This is Star Trek. We've seen alien planets with American Indians and the Old West and Greeks and Romans, and we've seen it all, dude. Like, why not an African American planet?
Okay, no, there's nothing wrong with that. You're right, 100%. And they can definitely go down that road. But I think what it was they were taking like the stereotype of the 1940s, what white people would think of as an African civilization.
This is exactly what Wakanda Forever looks like to me. I'm sorry, this looks like Black Panther.
You are a white person, so
it doesn't matter if I'm white. Like, you can compare.
I just said I said the white person's perception.
$10, I can find a screenshot from Black Panther and put it up against this, and they'd be wearing very similar garb. Like, it's the same thing. So if this is racist, then so is Black Panther.
Okay, let me kind of roll it out to you.
Remember the guy in Black Panther with the big thing on his lips, like, no, T'Challa. That is so. Like, when I saw that, I was like, how did they get away with that? That seems racist to me. But
none of it's racist. We need to stop. None of it is racist. No, okay, listen.
So whoever thinks this is racist, though, Black Panther, they should think Black Panther's racist too. Then.
Okay, so
same thing.
Okay, well, sort of. Okay, so the idea is let me spit out why. Okay. Before you continue. So here we are in the future, right? Spacefaring races, hundreds of years into the future. And yet we've got this stereotypical, African thing. And I think that's what sat poorly with people is the fact that why don't we have a black, if we're going to do a black race of aliens, right? Why are they stereotypically, 1940s, African society? So I think that was like the first.
Ask T'Challa, because they are way more advanced and they still dress the same way.
But they also live in current time Earth.
Right, but they have like flying spaceships and laser swords.
Hey, they're more advanced on Earth. That makes them special. But here in this universe, they're a backwater alien civilization. Anyways, I think that's part of it. Okay, but the idea that it's racist. So if these had been reptilian people, I went back and watched the whole episode to make sure. If they had been reptilian people, if they had been white, if they had been anything other than black, I believe that no one would be saying anything about race, because you got to remember racism, and people have taken this word and they've turned it into something that it isn't. Okay. Racism is not, racism means hate. Okay. So when you are a racist, you hate someone because of their race. Okay. When it's racism, you're doing something evil and awful because of their race.
Right.
Okay. That's not what happened here. Okay. I don't know why this director, his name was Russ Mayberry. I don't know why he chose to bring in the African-American theme and cast African-Americans for the roles. We don't know. I searched hard to try to find out why he made that choice. Probably because it made the episode a lot cheaper. So imagine having to put makeup on a bunch of reptilian people and having to make up a bunch of people. It probably kept the episode cheaper. This episode is really a take on the TOS episode where Spock ends up fighting Kirk, and they're fighting over a woman. Right.
Well, you know what's crazy too?
It's like an opposite take on that.
Real quick before you move on from reptilians, like we have not actually seen reptilians done correctly yet, like to date, in my opinion, and I would have loved to have seen like an entire reptilian race. Like that would have been really rad, but I don't think they had the ability to do that back then.
Right. It would have come off weird. They could have done it. They could have. It just would have looked
super cheesy or something. Yeah.
For the time. So I think this director probably said, well, I mean, for what we got going on, I mean, this is kind of what African, and maybe as an old white guy, which he was at the time, maybe that's how he envisioned African tribe cultures to be. And he thought it would just be, and we already have, black actors. And I'm sure these black actors are probably glad that they got paid to come and do an episode of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you look at it, there's a difference between racist or racism and insensitive, maybe.
Right.
There's a difference. You can be culturally insensitive and make it, but racism means that there's an attachment of hate to it. So, I mean, I get when guys like Jonathan Frakes and these people say, this is there's like a level of, they don't want to align themselves with an episode of Star Trek that wasn't very good. It's not. It is one of the worst episodes of Star Trek, frankly speaking. It's ridiculous that they have Tasha Yar, that they're setting her up to basically admit that she has a sexual attraction to this guy. I don't know why they went down that. To me, the most egregious part of the episode is when Troy's like, you admit it, you're sexually attracted to him. I'm like, what's going on here? Why are they making her say this? Like, even if she did have that, this is not something that needs to be shared across the screen. They somehow wanted to make the fact that her abduction happened was like, okay, I guess. Like the fact that she's abducted, like they wanted to make it look like it wasn't, I don't know, kidnapping and rape or something. I don't know what they were going for.
Why is Tasha Yar always getting kidnapped and raped at some point?
I don't know. But
she needs to stay out of harm's way or something. Like, is this like the fourth time?
Well, in this episode, so essentially it's very weird. And they kind of play it the whole time about how does she have feelings for him? They're trying to set it up so that there's this potential that she might stay and like marry this guy, I guess, was the whole idea. It was weird. And it's a terrible episode of Star Trek. Honestly, listen, if they got rid of this episode, no one would ever care. But here's the problem. You cannot censor stuff. Okay. You cannot remove things because somebody might find it offensive.
Yeah, it's silly.
That's wrong. The fact that they are talking about wanting to take this off of streaming services is just because it's a bad episode of TV. Who gives a shit? But the fact that you're trying to do it because somebody might get their feelings hurt is what drives me crazy. And it is not the right thing to do. I want you to consider that this episode aired in 1987. Do you know what movie was in production at the time that this movie aired?
I don't know.
It was Coming to America.
I love that movie.
Right. And if you go back, pull up Coming to America, Eddie Murphy, African King.
That's pretty much Wakanda too.
Sort of. But this was before Wakanda.
Right. Well, yeah.
This was at the same time that this show was being made.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the movie, the original, and of course, Eddie Murphy, great character, comes to America as an African prince that nobody knows. He's come to sow his wild oats. And go ahead and take a look.
I almost just put you on the screen. I was like, I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
African prince. And he is, and they're in a tribal in the beginning, especially if you can grab the first episode, he's in like taking a bath and he's got people washing him. And it comes across very much like an African, in that sense.
Yeah, it's actually his bath attendants are actually pretty hot.
Maybe less tribal. Yeah, you're right. Maybe a little less tribal, but still it has that same flavor. So at
this guy looks like the bad guy from Black Panther, whatever his name, Killmonger. It looks like the exact same character.
Well, when you go back, and everything. Oh yeah, when you go back and look at the 80s in this time frame, this is kind of how people perceived that an African culture kind of would be. Now, granted, it was a lot more, does Star Trek need?
I mean, it wasn't just the 80s though.
Culture.
Like this is from Wakanda Forever. This is from Black Panther. This is from Black Panther. This is just came out, guys.
Well, the reality is this still exists today. There are still tribes in Africa, in Australia.
This is a frame from the movie. This is a frame from the movie.
They still exist to this day, Brian.
And it's not a problem, by the way. But like, I don't think you can't say one's racist and one's not when they are literally using the same exact style, in my opinion.
Well, I think that the racism part of it is, and if there is any sort of like impropriety, it's showcasing that. And granted, these are supposed to be aliens, but it doesn't come across that way. They do seem like black humans in this episode. That we've moved several hundred years into the future, but yet they haven't.
To be honest, almost everyone seems like just humans on a planet, unless they have.
I get it, but you see what I'm saying about, humanity's evolved, but yet the African continent people have not. I think that's what the egregiousness, and I don't necessarily.
Then why were they talking to the Enterprise?
I'm not saying in reality.
Oh,
I'm saying
sorry.
that's how people perceive it, because that's what they look like.
All right.
They look like a 19th century African tribe, but they're aliens from a planet that they're getting they're actually getting a medicine from, so that they could cure some sort of disease. So, yeah, and I think that's what the way people look at it. But going back, there's no like he wants her because she's white. There's no, they said it's a very sexist. I mean, there were elements of Star Trek that were very sexist. Well, guess what? The time was somewhat sexist. The idea of a woman, not being superior to a man. And what's hilarious is if you watch the whole episode, they correct the incorrect behavior of those aliens. By the end of the episode, his wife is now in charge, and the two guys are now her concubines.
I'm sorry, guys, but Tasha Yar literally looks like a young boy in Boy Scouts. I don't know.
Did you hear what you said?
Yeah.
So that's a really important point.
No, I know, but like to adding to your point, it's not just progressive, but like the person that is the main character in this show looks like is not the pinnacle of femininity.
Well, she was a sex symbol for the show, though. At the time, to be fair, she was their sex symbol. Her and Deanna Troi. Yeah, she was considered the hot mirror at the time. At the 80s, that short haircut was hot, and it was a big deal.
So the African queen had concubines, and
so at the end of the episode, what I'm trying to say is they flipped it. So
Right.
As Star Trek does correctly, they showed the error of the ways of this alien culture, civilization, and they flipped it. They put the woman in charge, right? The men were now subservient to her because they made the mistake, and they fixed the problem essentially. You see what I'm saying? That's what Star Trek does.
Yeah.
Even though, so the real problem that people have here is that they put black actors in the role. If it had been anybody else, nobody would be there wouldn't be a sensitivity to it.
And here,
if you go back,
here's a super chat from Michael Nemo about putting black actors in the role. He says, check out this Code of Honor meme, and I'm just so happy to be employed right now.
that's probably how they felt when they were making it. And I can promise you that at the time they were making it, nobody was thinking that this is messed up. I can't believe they're portraying us this way, because that is typically the way people were portrayed at the time. But don't take our word for it. Let's take the word of another African American actor who had some really great words. Cyril Lofton, who played Jake Sisko on DS9. When he was asked about this, he was doing a podcast with Nana Visitor. And he says, when they asked about this episode, he said, I think you learn from history and you grow from it. You can't ignore it. If there is no progress, we can't recognize that it's something that we've evolved from as a society. If we don't see that difference, then we haven't moved anywhere. You can't remove these types of things because people need to see it and go, wow, we don't do that anymore. You know what I mean? You can't watch it and go, that's not the way we talk about women. That's not the way we deal with women. This is not how African people live today. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we can't hide history like that. We got to stop doing that. We don't burn books. We don't ban movies, or, there's a difference between banning a book from a children's library because it has sexual explicit images and banning that book altogether from viewers being able to buy it. There's a difference between, putting a rating on something and restricting it from children having access to it and the general public. I'll tell you this, that old adage where it says, the victor or the winner writes history. We are beyond that. History, we should not be banning, burning, censoring anything. Let ideas that are bad bake in the sunlight and they will die. Yes. That is the bottom line. Don't try to remove them and hide them. All you do, if it's really a bad idea, is just going to fester and mold and be growing stagnant, and it'll get a following that you don't want to deal with. Let them bask in the sunlight. Let a bad idea die in visibility. Stop trying to adjust the narrative. It's almost the same thing where it's like the winners are trying to write history, but they're doing it by hiding the history that makes them look bad. Stop it. Okay. Moving on.
All right. So I think we had never really addressed that Code of Honor episode, and I'm really glad we did because, I really wasn't sure. I'd always just said, yeah, it's a bad episode. I never really cared to watch it. I'd seen it a couple times, but I was like, it's usually one I skip. I'm like,
It's like most of the first season. Like I skip half the first season, TNG.
Yeah, there's a bunch of episodes that are just kind of like whatever.
Also, Tasha Yar sucks. Sorry. She sucks.
I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, it's like just about any episode that focuses on Tasha Yar, I'm like, no, I'm good. No.
I know, it's terrible.
And the Naked Now, I think it opens up with her like sashaying through the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is supposed to have some like alluring presence, but she has absolutely no rear end whatsoever. And you're like, why is there a man sashaying down the hallway? And then you realize it's Tasha Yar. You're like, oh, I get it.
Well, and you're not wrong what you said earlier about, she has the Nurse Chapel 12-year-old boy.
I disagree with them. Nurse Chapel has a feminine like body type, dude.
Really? I don't think so.
She does. She has a rear end. Anyways, I don't want to go down this road again. Right. The point I was trying to make was not that she's not hot, was that she is like looking at her that is their version of progressive right there. You have like this strong,
that's true.
Kick-ass chick with the lesbian haircut. And you're like, dude, like there it is. That's you're progressive all over the screen.
Well, at the time that was progressive at the time.
Right.
Having her, they said it in the episode, right? When she was the security officer, he's like, a woman, security officer.
Oh my goodness.
and then she like kicks the butt of his first.
You know what I would have done? I would have just pulled the gun out and said,
that's what you would have done. Yeah.
I don't need to kick anyone's butt. I have a phaser.
That's a good point.
Like you don't need to be like an actual like warrior to be a security officer. You need to be smart enough and being able to use a phaser. That's it.
You could tell it was like Star Trek's 4th episode because it was so dumb. Like the way the guy's going up to like hand the thing to Picard, right? He's like, here you go, hand it to him. And she's like, stop. I'm the security officer. I must see it first. Right. And it's like this, like, I'm looking at her going, my God,
like high school acting.
Yeah. Like really, really bad. Right. And then he's like, don't talk to me, woman. And then like she like throws him.
Don't talk to me, woman. And so she violently assaults him.
Yeah.
So they're like,
she like totally assaulted him.
They're like this, like evolved the race of humans in the far future. And her first reaction to any kind of like conflict whatsoever is just to beat the crap out of the person talking to her. Welcome to the future, folks. Listen, there's a reason why they call weapon guns the great equalizer, because you can be a 70-pound, 4'6" anorexic Instagram model versus a 300-pound bodybuilder, and guess what? You win if you have the gun, regardless.
That's true.
So it's the great equalizer. You don't have to be the little girl kicking the 200-pound guy's butt if you have a phaser. I'm just saying.
True. Right, hey. But it's not as powerful message if she's not actually kicking his butt.
Yeah, but I would argue that the messaging is wrong if your first reaction is to violently assault someone that offends you.
I would agree with that.
Jesus, that's such a wild thing.
We got some more super chats.
Imagine going back to old Star Trek and criticizing it. It would not be as, we remember a lot of Star Trek through loving eyes because we only remember the stuff we love. But there are plenty of bad episodes in a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah. There's lots of bad things that happen. But, in the end, you even love your ugly children.
That's true. That's true. John Burns, 2009, says, "See ya, honey. Off to bathe with my attendants." That's from Coming to America. If you guys haven't seen Coming to America, you should watch it. And you know what? I bet you in 10 years, people are going to say that movie is racist.
They might say it's racist now.
They might say it's
But see, the problem is it's mostly an all-black cast, so they won't say that.
Oh my gosh, they were trying to cancel Robert Downey Jr. like last month. Robert Downey Jr. For Tropic Thunder because he had blackface on again. Like, it was trending again. It was like cancel RDJ or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what do you do now? And I clicked on it, I'm like, and they showed pictures of him like in blackface. He's raised. I'm like, are you guys just seeing the movie? Like, what the heck?
Every new generation hasn't had a chance to be a social justice warrior yet. That's low pickings, guys. That's easy fruit. Go for something tough. How about Justin Trudeau? Yeah. The Prime Minister of Canada. Why don't you throw that guy out?
Hey guys, can we stop talking about the actor playing a character and go after the Prime Minister of Canada in blackface? No one's bringing that up. No one, not a single person.
Of course not. He's on their side, but
right.
He's on their side.
It was so funny. That movie, I'll never forget this line when Ben Stiller said something that could be construed as racist, and Robert Downey Jr.'s character goes, "What do you mean, you people?" And the actual black guy behind him, he goes, "What do you mean, you people?" I died.
Yep, I laughed every time. So hey, Michael Nemo, congratulations! You are the stream hero. We want to try to I don't know how long he's been up there, but congrats to Michael Nemo, who is on the board
the whole time.
He hasn't been up there the whole time. No,
it was us, then it was him.
I know that, but I'm just saying I don't know how long he's been up there on the board. Okay, I'm trying to catch him when they first get on the board so we can mention.
Oh, well, that was like 15 minutes ago, bro. Yeah.
Well, when you first see it, you break in and you do it.
John Burns for 279. Thank you, John. Tasha grows up on a planet. Oh, my R.
Oh, yeah.
Planet and end up in a planet.
No, it's true. Yeah, that's true. She grew up on a planet where she got raped all the time.
She's the worst. She had the worst history. It's like,
it was terrible.
I had to escape the games and I had to run for my life. Every day, having to run from games. You're like, what is the deal? It's just so cringy. Everything about that character sucks.
I agree.
279 again from John Burns. Damn, John Burns thrown in there. Not exactly true, Shane. Remember Boss Noss prequel? What is that?
He's talking about. That's a good point. He's the father, not the father, the leader of the Gungans.
Misa.
No, that was bad.
Yeah,
George. That was not good. George.
That was
George, that was. I mean, if they want to call something racist,
I mean, dude, they're reptilian. What do you want?
They are reptilian.
So
but
you basically you got exactly what you want. You got a reptilian version of that race. But I mean, George Lucas was like, "Look, I just saw Code of Honor. I want to fix it."
George Lucas was fixing Code of Honor.
He's like, and in his first character is like, "All right, this is Jar Jar Binks." Misa Jedi!
We can steal the Tasha Yar.
We just steal the Tasha Yar. Oh, thank you for that, John. I needed that.
That was good,
bro.
John. Thanks, man.
John Burns again for 279. Just this looks like Wakanda. Awful lot of honkies. From Rec Thrust, the good times are done. So should Trek be.
We'll always have legacy, baby.
One more from John Burns here. For 400 years, the word has held us down. The word. He's purposely saying that with an accent. Stop, John. Stop. You're gonna
get us all in trouble.
You're gonna get us.
He's like, I'm in the members chat. I'm safe. I'm in the members chat.
Okay. All right. Oh my God. What time are you leaving? 4:15.
I have an hour. Yeah.
So we got to the member section then.
Yeah, I guess can we just do one more thing here?
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to the member section. We're going to tell some really weird stories that happened to Brian and I this week. And we're going to talk about, I think it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Right?
Oh, I did want to show that. Yeah. Okay.
You want to show that before we go?
Yeah. So we've been watching Always Sunny. Shane had not seen the newest season of Always Sunny. Sorry. And it was really funny because I'm like, you got to watch this last episode because like we are literally dealing with exactly what Dennis is dealing with on a daily basis. This is like our lives. The entire episode's very clever, hilarious.
It really is.
Just pointing its fingers back at the way society has evolved to, socially and with apps and everything, right? And the way he talks is just like us when he goes, "Look, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the system. But the system isn't here right now for me to direct my frustration at."
Yeah. I think it might be the best episode of TV, like sitcom TV, in a long time.
In a long time. Yeah, like I was dying laughing when he was having that conversation outside the Tesla, and he was giving his license plate number, a name, and identification all over. Right. And it finally shows him doing it again. He's like, BNDN, and he gives him the whole ID, and then a person picks up like, "Hey, my name is Daisy. Can I get your ID number?" He goes, "Daisy, my wildflower. Why would you require my ID again?" And goes,
We've all been through that.
And she's like, "That's how the system works, sir. I don't see." He goes, "Daisy, let me tell you something. Who designed the system?"
Right.
"And are they located close by?"
Yeah.
Anyways, it was great. So this is from episode 3, I believe, or 4, and it's called it's basically a Chuck E. Cheese ripoff. And there's a little speech that Mac has while he's in the timeout room at Ratty, whatever, Richie Rats or whatever.
Ratty something.
It's basically a Chuck E. Cheese, proxy. Here we go. Get out there and have some fun, shall we?
We've only been here for like 5 minutes. That's not a punishment. I don't feel punished. Where's the shame I'm supposed to be feeling?
There's no shame in making a mistake, man.
Yes, there is. How else would I know not to do it anymore?
Hey, listen, man, I'm a licensed psychotherapist.
You're a talking dog.
I'm going to pause it right there because I know the copyright claim is coming.
Yeah.
But when he said, he goes, "I'm a licensed therapist," he goes, "You're a talking dog."
I'm a therapist.
It had me dying, bro. It had me dying.
To set up the scene, so basically the way this Ratty cheese or whatever used to be, when these guys were kids, you would go here and you had to go to the timeout room. Like the parents were all locked in a bar getting drunk, right? And the kids would go play, do whatever they want. And that was the whole thing. But if they got in trouble, they had to go to a timeout room. So this is the updated version of the timeout room, which is basically a counseling session.
Well, it's great. And their dad, which is Danny DeVito's character, his timeout room, they would get spankings.
When he was a kid.
He was a kid.
He would actually get paddled or something.
And he would get paddled. And in their timeout room, they had to like wait for an hour. And it was like very frustrating. The new updated one, it can only be like 5 minutes. You just got to talk to the talking dog.
Right.
Okay. All right, moving on.
I'm out of here.
Great. I'm scared.
I'm sure you are, Sam. I'm sure you are. Because you're a pussy. Look, man, that's not your fault. Man. It's not your fault. This dog, your parents, the whole culture is grooming you to be a pussy. You got no freedom, which means you got no balls.
No balls.
And then even when you actually do get caught doing something bad, you're not held accountable. And if you're not held accountable, you feel no guilt. If you feel no guilt, you feel no shame. If you got no shame,
you got no balls.
You're never going to hate yourself enough to stop being bad and grow some balls.
Let's get out there.
Christ, man. This is what's happening. That is our society today, though. That's what's happening when you have no accountability and when you have no when you don't have to suffer at all, or when you don't have to be, told that you're wrong,
Right.
then you don't know that you're wrong. And that's what we're teaching. I just thought, I love that episode. I love how socially responsible it is. And look, you don't want these guys border on obviously doing things that are completely and totally inappropriate.
I mean, no. You remember, the characters in the show are bad people.
Yes.
They're meant to be bad people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the point of those characters, is that they're bad people. Right?
Right. But the truth that they say, they're bad people who are shedding light on things that are truthful.
Right. They're shedding light. Now, and they might be doing it from a perspective of being very selfish individuals, but they still are.
And they somehow manage to teach us a lesson at the same time.
Right.
So, which is important, because I don't think that we're allowed to hear voices like that. I'm actually, frankly, surprised that Sunny is still on the air. And with the way our culture is right now, these messages, other than, South Park, nobody's really allowed to say things like this.
Right. It can only last so long, though. There's going to be a point, like, either it's going to, well, I mean, I'll say this. I think that Always Sunny has already started to jump the shark a little bit. Any episode not written by Charlie Day is very bland and doesn't really have any of the edge it used to have. Now, if you look directly at all the episodes that are specifically written by Charlie Day, those are the episodes that still have this extreme edge and sort of like pointing back at society. So
we'll say that
when Charlie Day leaves, that show's done.
Well, that last episode where Dennis takes a mental health day, that's the best episode of Sunny I've ever seen. So
that's awesome. Yeah, let us know if you guys seen Always Sunny the recent series season, and what do you guys think? And why are the episodes so spotty? I don't understand why they can't just have continuous. Why is new TV? They have one episode, and like 3 weeks later there's an episode, then like a week later there's an episode, then like 2 weeks later there's an episode, then like next day there's an episode, and then five weeks later it's like can we like pick a lane? Like, I don't understand. Like, TV used to be every week on this day this was happening. What? It's not that way anymore. It's so confusing. Like, they're in the sixth season of this episode. I'm sorry, sixth episode of the 16th season, right?
Right.
It's been like it's been like a month and a half since that episode came out, and there's nothing new.
Well, I don't know if they have any more.
No, there is. There is. Unless, have you ever heard of a 6-episode season of TV?
I don't know. Maybe they were making it as they went. I don't know. You know what I mean? Here's the other thing is, like, why not drop it next month? Do they need to? I mean, look at the South Park guys. Their stuff doesn't come out very consistently.
That's also I have a problem with. I don't understand why there's such long breaks between episodes. South Park too. I don't get it.
Because what's the benefit of not? What's the benefit of doing it immediately?
You mean doing it weekly?
Yeah.
Like having a schedule so people can talk about it and enjoy it together, and
yeah, you're going to talk about it and enjoy it no matter what, even if it comes out a month later.
I mean, not necessarily. You lose a lot of your interest. Like, listen, the other day I was scrolling down, and I the way streaming services are, it's so hard to even find stuff. I found an episode. I found that they released an entire new season of Only Murders in the Building, and I'm like, or the first 5 episodes, where I'm like, what the hell? Like a month ago. And I was following that religiously, but then they just stopped, and and there was such a long break. I completely forgot that I had not even seen the last couple episodes of the previous season. It's just sort of, look, there needs to be a schedule, and you can do it every 2 weeks. You can do it every month. I don't care, but like there needs to be some kind of consistency. It can't be like, hey, we're going to do 3 episodes, then we're going to take a break for a month, come back, do a couple episodes, take another break. Like maybe do it once a month then. I don't know. If you're trying to stretch it out, then have a schedule.
I hate to break it to you. There's no incentive. Now on the streaming thing has made it incentiveless. People show, new episode's out. Cool.
I'm sorry. Was the Archmage is saying that was the season finale? No. 6 episodes? What?
That's streaming.
Wait, how? How is that possible?
I mean, it very easily can be. There's no incentive to do more. What's the incentive? What's the incentive to?
I'm sorry,
have
8
seasons
episodes.
anymore?
It's 8 episodes. You're right. That was the season finale. 8 episodes. That's it. That's the end of season. The end of Always Sunny in Philadelphia was that episode.
That was the end of the show?
Yeah, because they said they're coming back for a 16th season, and they don't know if they'll do any more after that. That was the guy who plays Dennis Reynolds, his exact words.
Well, if they leave it off on that one, that's the one to leave it off on.
I mean, that is pretty epic, but like the whole team wasn't even in the episode.
They were. I mean, it wasn't a great finale, but it was. I mean, I think it really capitalized on like what that show's all about. You know,
wow, that might be the last episode of Always Sunny.
Good one to end it on.
8 episodes. Oh my god, I hate these short straight seasons.
I don't know why they have seasons. Screw seasons.
Yeah, just do numbers. Yeah, let's stop doing it. Just do 1 through 800. Whatever. Yeah. Have fun with it.
What's the point of seasons anymore? Seasons used to be because you showed up for a season.
Yeah, for like an actual season of like from this month to this month. Right.
Right. Just put them out as you go now.
All right, we're going to the member section, my friends. I got to make sure that I think the stream might have gotten blocked because of that clip.
Really?
Did the stream ever drop for you guys at any moment? Because I
never saw it drop.
I saw the chat drop extreme. And then I got a little warning that popped up, and I'm not sure if we lost a lot of people or not.
Well, I will say it's on. I've been playing it, and it hasn't dropped. So.
Oh, it hasn't?
No.
Okay. All right. We are going to the member section. If you guys don't know what that is, let me tell you what it is, my friends. It's a wonderful place over on the Popcast Prime. Do you not know what the Popcast Prime is? Are you watching this after the fact? Do you not know that we have another completely different channel? Well, we do. We have another channel. It's our main channel. It's large. That's also where our members section lives right now because we were demonetized on the Unleashed channel. And you can see right here, we have our members only after show. Apparently, the thumbnail didn't update for this last one. I'll fix that. Sorry, guys. But every single week after we leave this show, we go to the members only show where we get to talk about even more fun stuff that we probably don't want to talk about too much on the public side because it's a little naughty or it could be banned or whatever. There's also little tidbits and little clips from our videos before they come out. In addition to some of our superhero stuff that we put on there when we want to. We're supposed to do it every Wednesday, but we don't. But it's a great place to be. It's about a cup of coffee. Come join us.
Yeah.
How do you join us? Click on the link in the description below, or you can just wait for the video to end, and I will also put the link in the chat right now. Go ahead, Shane.
And I'm also going to be telling a wonderful story about a school lockdown that terrified my children, as well as my phone call to the local police department, and basically the mental breakdown I had a couple days ago. So it's going to be a lot of fun in the member section.
Yeah, Shane had a mental breakdown, and no one knew. Yeah. No one knew.
And we're going to be talking about John Travolta's shitty house and how fucked up he is as a human being, basically. At least according to some people online.
I don't know why these stupid emojis exist on here. I can't pin it because the goddamn emojis are in the way, dude.
And what do they do? Like, I hit the heart thing. Like, oh, hearts
I don't know.
fly. What does that mean? Like, what do you mean when here smiles fly? Like, what happens when these party flies?
You should be able to remove that stupid thing. Anyways, listen, guys. Come on over. The link is in the pinned comment right now. It's also in the description. And if you do absolutely nothing, just sit here. The link will literally take you there. But if you're not a member, you have to sign up. It costs a cup of coffee. It's pretty simple.
In the member section, Chappie's going, one of us. Yes, join, become one of us. Yeah.
Come on down, guys. We love you so much. If we don't see you there, that's cool. We'll see you next week. Have an awesome, amazing weekend. And we'll see you in the member section.
Happy NFL weekend, opening weekend.
I'm going to dominate this league. I'm going to get all the baskets.